Stop voting for politicians. What have they done for us for hundreds of years? Hundreds and hundreds of years these politicians have lied to us, they've deceived us, they've stolen our children, they've been abused our children, they're responsible for abusing our children, and we just walk about and accept it. There's a Scottish child abuse inquiry, like me and Laura keep bringing it up because it's current. It's boarding schools in Scotland and it's starting back in, I think it's the 6th of May. The Queen Victoria School in Dunblane will be part of the inquiry this time. It was on the website. I've also got Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry documents there available if anybody wants to speak to me. It's a printout of the contact details and a list of all the organisations that are currently being investigated for sexually abusing, exploiting our children in Scotland. Now, this is institutions, care homes, so this is something our government didn't want an inquiry. This is why I'm saying, why are we voting in politicians? For 30 years our government refused this, Scottish Government refused this inquiry. It was only through people like ourselves coming forward, survivors pushing and pushing, that the inquiry finally went forward. All the institutions aren't involved in the inquiry because it turned out it was massive, so they couldn't deal with it. So there's lots like the football clubs and stuff that aren't included in the inquiry. Why is some survivors more important than others? It's not on. Our government were quite happy to not have a child abuse inquiry and to let the institutions in Scotland carry on abusing our children. What does that tell you? That they were going to just carry on letting them be abused? Now we've found out they've been murdered, raped, kidnapped, tortured in these care homes. Our government were quite happy to sit back and just let that happen. So is it not pretty obvious that our politicians are destroying our country, are destroying our people, and are raping, murdering, abusing and torturing their children? Why is the people of Scotland not outraged? There's grooming gangs and trafficking gangs across our city, across our country. Why is people not outraged about this? And I've been really busy this week, but I heard on the news yesterday and today that there's a sad passing. Why is our media allowed to say that Prince Philip is sad that he passed and give all good stuff out about this guy? It's been found Prince Philip and the Queen were guilty of kidnapping 10 children, and the children disappeared, the parents are still grieving. Why are we as a nation told to grieve this guy? This guy's a paedophile, he's a murderer, and he's raping and kidnapping and torturing your children. Now, in 2000, like Robert says, we need to stand under common law. Here's an example of common law in the common law courts in Brussels. In 2014, so you're talking 7 years ago, Queen Elizabeth, David Cameron there was issued arrest warrants for being responsible for a paedophile ring. Now that's our Queen Elizabeth and David Cameron and the International Common Law Courts of Justice. There's arrest warrants. There's our citizens' arrest warrants. So if enough people stand under common law, we can have these people at the top arrested. Today, this was the 25th of January 2014. Today, Queen Elizabeth and the UK Prime Minister David Cameron were issued arrest warrants. The two were charged with sexual crimes against children as part of an international paedophile ring. We have enough evidence to prosecute both the Prime Minister and the Queen of England, said the ex-Royal Military Policeman Matt Taylor. On February 25th, 2013, 6 judges of the Brussels Common Law Court found the Queen, David Cameron and Pope Ratzinger and 37 other global elites guilty of the disappearance of 50,000 children. Canadian and Indigenous children. Cases were prosecuted in the international tribunals into the crimes of the Church and State. Common law courts' actions were proven effective in February 2013. Catholic Pope Ratzinger resigned within days of being issued with an arrest warrant. Should parents consider common law courts to protect their children? Yes, they should. Yes, we need common law courts to protect our children because our court system let paedophiles walk free in Scotland. Yet evidently on October the 10th, 1964, Queen Elizabeth and Prince Philip were seen taking 10 native children from the Canadian Kamloops Residential School. Now this is a guy I've been hearing on the radio that we have to feel sad about him and that he's passed and that he's to be left with a legacy as a good person. Why are we accepting this? This is unacceptable. They were seen taking 10 native children from a Canadian Kamloops Residential School. Children aged 10 haven't seen or heard from them since their parents. The Canadian courts refused to hear the case that also involved the 50,000 missing Canadian children. We are in danger of global elites are not held responsible for their crimes. Two witnesses claimed that as children they were at child sacrifices with the former Pope Joseph Ratzinger. Since at least 1962, Ratzinger participated in child sacrifices as a member of the Knights of Darkness, according to the Vatican records presided at the court. Ratzinger was an SS chaplain assistant at the German Ravensbrück concentration camp during World War II. Now these people have been our global elites and in power across the world for decades and decades. These were people we were taught to look up to respect and to trust their children with. These people are the ones that are responsible for the abuse, the torture and the kidnapping of children. These same people are the politicians that are running our country, are the lawyers and the judges in our court systems. Edinburgh is a full, massive paedophile ring operating in the legal society. Massive. They get away with kidnapping children to care homes and raping and torturing them for days and days. There was one case, 10 days, a wee boy, 56 of them. He could name, and only one of them get prosecuted. So that's an idea of how our justice system treats these people. There was another wee thing I wanted to say on this, so just bear with me, guys. So anybody that's tried to enforce these arrest warrants that were issued by the common law courts, basically but does not get the numbers. We need people and we need numbers to execute these arrest warrants. They just put people in mental hospitals or they put them in jail. So 2 witnesses have died of mysterious causes prior to February 2013 in the Brussels court that convicted the Queen, David Cameron and the former Pope Ratzinger and 37 other elites of crimes against humanity. Does our present courts prosecute international paedophile rings? Does it? No, it doesn't. We need common law courts. The ITCCS efforts for excavation of 31 child mass grave sites. So also there's 31 child mass grave sites of murdered children across the world. No one has any idea how many children have been murdered and buried in these grave sites. And our Queen and our governments are refusing excavation. They're refusing excavation. So there's 50,000 missing children just in Canada, and they've been stopped at all costs. Any excavations. The first one was discovered in 2008. The child mass grave sites were on grounds of 80 Canadian government-owned residential schools run by the Catholic Anglican churches and the United Church of Canada. Victims of the Catholic priest abuse scandal have seen very few perpetrators find the inside of jail. It's time to display documentation so that common law verdicts can be understood and enforced and by the community. So this is what we need to do. We need Robert to educate people, and we need to start standing under common law. So Kevin Ammett of the International Common Law Courts of Justice, they've been raising awareness of the common law courts on Pope Barboza and Ratzinger. Several common law court actions were being organised for 2014. Survivors came forward from Ireland, and there was a lot of forgotten victims. Canadian friends and relatives of the disappeared children. In the US, sorry, I've lost it there. Government. So yeah, and there was satanic ritual abuse survivors from SMART also came forward. With the help of the legal experts and judges of the International Common Law Court, United Survivors of Genocide and Child Torture Worldwide. The International Common Law Court is active in 26 countries with over 50 affiliated groups. It operates from an undisclosed central headquarters in Brussels, Belgium, and regional offices in Vancouver, New York, Dublin, London and Paris. So we need one of these in Scotland. This is what I was getting at with all this. We need to start doing the same as these countries have done, but in Scotland, for our child trafficking problem, our child exploitation problem, and the abuse of the institutions in Scotland to our children. So again, everybody, I just want to say thanks for coming and thanks for listening, and I hope that information can take all on board, and we genuinely need to start coming together, protecting our children, because we're systems, we're institutions, and we're country, and the authorities are exploiting them, they're not protecting them. So again, guys, thanks for coming.
Robert, aka Rob S. I'm here today to support Save Our Children and also the people in George Square, and I'm here to try and awake the people of Scotland via video. There's a lot of tyranny, corruption and crimes being committed against the people of Scotland, and it's diabolical. We've got a good crowd here today, but this George Square should be full for the sake of listening about the abuse, murder, rape and trafficking of sons and daughters. Now, people, it doesn't seem to bother people just now, and I don't understand why. This is very important because the sons and daughters are the next generation of families, and they have to be protected. Now, when it comes to traffic, murder, rape and abuse of sons and daughters, colour, culture does not matter. There is no prejudice. It harms to everybody's son and daughter, and it could be your son and daughter next. Now people, I'm hoping the people in this square start listening to what's being told here. Everything I'm telling here today, I'm standing in private capacity under full personal liability as an honourable man to expose the corruption and tyranny against the people of Scotland, the sons and daughters of Scotland. Now people, what people don't know is the biggest feat of this abuse and other crimes against the people is corruption. Corruption right through the legal system, legal society. Everything has been incorporated to private corporations. The people are being penalised. Their services are being stolen. People are waiting for treatment for cancers and other illnesses and can't get it because of a Mickey Mouse virus. Right? Now I've been prowling about for the last year trying to find this virus, but I can't find it. Anyway, people, I'm going to go and listen to that, right? Now, the thing of the matter is, people have to start educating themselves and waking it up big time. You have to protect your sons and daughters. You have to protect your communities and the people of the land of Scotland. And I mean all people of the land of Scotland. I bet you any money here today, if this was the SNP and all the supporters, this square would be full. If it was a Rangers game, this square would be full. No disrespect to anybody, but what about the sons and daughters that's been murdered, raped and abused and trafficked in Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales and beyond? It's diabolical. Now people, sons and daughters, as I said, are very important. Nicola Sturgeon and our government 3 times have the judges stepped down in a child abuse inquiry. There's an inquiry in Dublin just now that's still running. We don't know the full outcome. They're complicit in this, people. Westminster, the Parliament in Westminster has destroyed numerous files and documents relating to murder, abuse of sons and daughters. 27,000 sons and daughters have went missing in the last couple of years, and nobody has stopped to ask the question, where are these sons and daughters? What's happened to them? Because nobody seems to care. Well, Save Our Children and Anti-Corruption Scotland and the people standing here today care. Let me tell you that. It's wrong. We need the feet on the ground to get up here, support Anti-Corruption Scotland and Save Our Children, and let's take back control of our lives.
One people!
The lockdown is unlawful. No man or woman representing a corporation has a right to tell you to close your business. No man or woman has a right to tell you you're only allowed a couple of people in your home. Come and tell me that and I'll tell you where to go. Everything is an illusion, people. You're being deceived and defrauded of your rights. You have inalienable and inherent rights, and the law is inherent within. There's two jurisdictions, legal, lawful. Legal is relevant to the artificial person, where the birth certificate be connected to every man, woman, son and daughter. Lawful is relevant to a man or a woman. Do not commit harm, loss, injury, property damage or fraud within a lawful contract. You have committed no crime. Criminal complaint is a fraud against the people of Scotland. When you fill in any legal paperwork, including Police Scotland, criminal conversion, unlawful conversion takes place. You're creating a fiction. Identity theft is occurring against a man or woman, and that is a fact, and I verify this from first-hand knowledge. And it makes me angry and upset the amount of times I've been up here, present and past, and trying to awaken the people of what's going on. And when I watch people on videos challenging authority, presumed authority, they don't know how to deal with it.
Buy Bitcoin, that's how you fucking deal with it. Buy Bitcoin. From me.
Anyway, people, I'm going to explain something about children's panels. The children's panels are all registered corporations. The councils are all registered corporations. The social services are all registered corporations. Now, the children's panels and social services are stealing sons and daughters for financial enrichment, unjust fair money, and that's a fact. They're forced adopted sons and daughters unlawfully. They don't have the right to do that. It's unlawful, and crimes have been committed against the people. Plagiar, common law, plagiar was plagiar. If your son or daughter under the age of 14 or 12 was taken without your consent, that is classed as theft under common law. And I challenge anybody here to call me a liar. I've been doing this for over a decade. I've been fighting with the system. I've had my door kicked in. I've been arrested falsely. Even in a jail state, I was arrested with no crime. Everything is a fraud. It's a presumption. The law and the legal system, legal society, is based on presumption or assumption and probabilities. An assertion that these people think what they think is right. Even if the evidence, the prima facie evidence proves them wrong, they still go with that nonsense. The courts are not courts. Within these buildings, that's a public building. Within these buildings, the family courts are staff chambers. When a family gets taken there with a report of the social services, the door is locked behind them. That is not a court, it's a fraud against the people, the sons and daughters. And even the sons and daughters are not allowed to get into these buildings because they cannot let them into the building because that exposes the fraud. So what they try to do is bring the bond to the family and cause harm, loss and injury. Numerous sons and daughters in the care system are being abused, and people don't know this because people turn a blind eye, they ignore it. My nephew right now is being bullied at school, and he's been bullied in the care home. Where is his protection? I've not seen my nephew for over 6 years, come on 7 years. No crime in law, based on lies, fraud, by social workers. And that harms every day a daily occurrence to families, and it has to stop. We have to remove consent. How do we get remedied? I keep hearing about Article 61. Let me tell you here, for and on public record, Article 61 does not apply in Scotland. It was wrote for the barons, not the people. Even the police here will tell you Article 61 does not apply, you'd be ignored. And what man or woman has to take an oath? An oath to who? You either know you're a man or a woman and know that you're sovereign. I'm sovereign. I'm a living, breathing, flesh and blood man, and I'm a living fact. And so is all the men and women, sons and daughters here. We are living fact, not persons. People have to get the status of person out of their mind. Open their hearts and open their minds and still think. Stop listening to television, the media, everything, the newspapers, the radio, they're all party and conducting a fraud against the people who mislead them and tell them lies. And I verify that. It's diabolical. Now people, the numbers are quite good here today. I'm still disappointed. Please people, when you're watching this video, pay attention. Get up here and support the people as try to fight to save your rights. I'm here to try to educate you on the common law, because there is common law and that's the law of the land. Legislation's a fraud. and I can verify that. 2 weeks ago I went to Glasgow Sheriff Court and I just tried to bully a man, and the man stood up and I stood my ground under common law and I destroyed him in that court. 5 lawyers sitting with their mouth open. A Procurator Fiscal put her head down. The clerk put her head down, they couldn't answer. He refused to give me his name 3 times. I told him when I left the court I was going to go to the clerk's office, get his name, and report him for malfeasance in public office. It carries a 14-year jail sentence. Everybody in this legal system, legal society, imposes acts and statutes against the people of Scotland are committing malfeasance in public office, and even worse, treason against the people of Scotland, against the sons and daughters of Scotland, and the people have to waken up and take back control. Now, remedy. How do we get remedy? You cut the head off the snake. Get rid of the politicians. You want the rule of law back in Scotland, England, Ireland and Wales. We take it back. Remove consent. Remove the right to vote. When you vote, you've been deceived. Everything is lies. Uppercase letters, black ink, the sign of the dead. Your identity has been stolen, and criminal conversion has happened against every man and woman. And that's a fact. Now people, please don't vote. If you're going to register to vote, don't do it. You're losing your rights. You become a person. Your duties and obligations and responsibilities to a legal system, a legal society, and you lose your rights. Now people, I've said what I'm going to say, and for an on-public record, so we get this straight, and all you people here are witnessing this. This is not a protest. There is no organisations, and there is no organiser. We the people today stand in George Square under common law. This is our land, and we the people are on the land. I'm going to pass you on to save our children.
I'm here to talk about 2 things. One of the things I'm going to talk about again is the children's reporters and the children's panels. I've been speaking to a dad and a granddad, and now I'm going to read out what I wrote down about now what this family's been through. This father and grandfather have been traumatised daily by inappropriate actions of social services and children's reporters. And dad and granddad aren't been allowed to, or given any way they could put any input into decisions that have been made about them. To be lied about repetitively and even shown numerous references from people that have known the father and grandfather in a working capacity and a charity work. Both have done and still do. These references don't make a difference, but stated, it's been stated that they're not worth the paper written on. Social services in nearly 3 years have torn this father and grandfather to pieces. Everything they have done to teach all the children about learning skills, keeping rooms tidy, cleaning up after them, even simple tasks like do the dishes, emptying the bins or feeding the dog. Bear in mind these children get extra pocket money for doing these tasks. This is child abuse stated by Children's Services. Social Services, due to repetitive lies from a 21-year-old, this 21-year-old has been a nasty piece of work. She also thought by telling her brother and sister she'd look after them so they didn't need to go to their dads and grandfathers. But kids have stated to their dad and granddad. This has been stated with the kids to their dad and granddad. It was their bigger sister who said this to them. When she did look after the children for her mother, she phoned continually complaining to the mum she couldn't handle them. This young girl is now in care of, she's the safeguarder of these 3 children, getting £750 a week to look after her siblings, and will also receive child benefit and child tax credit. Also in this home where this 21, 22-year-old lives, and the kids are residing as a safe place, drugs are being sold and taken. I'd like to know who visited this home and took this assessment of this home, deeming it a safe place. Her partner's uncle has been jailed for having underage sex with teenagers. How can any father or grandfather get the words or opinion across when none of them have been allowed to express or be present to contest what's being stated? They've been classed as liars, and no amount of trying to get their own words across and asking for them to visit their home, even on unannounced visits, this has been rejected. We have also been told any evidence of the kids enjoying and having fun isn't again worth being seen. The grandfather hasn't been given any chance in being involved in any proceedings, and every time he tries to get someone to listen, they have been told you will never beat the system. What does this tell you? you that the system, social services, children's panel can lie and do as they please. How can the system be non-judgmental and impartial to a father or a grandfather when they are listening to lies and not not interested in getting the truth of the facts? Bear in mind, kids have stated they want to see their dad and grandfather, but again, these words again not being listened to by social services. I've said that yes, parents have not been listened to or been treated fairly, but when you've been told you will never beat a system. The Children's Act Scotland 2014 was put in place to protect vulnerable and abused children. Why does a system that's main ethos is to working with families not working alongside this family and listen to these and they are listening to these lies? Also, many more families are in the same predicament. What do they have to fear by putting across, you will never beat a system? This is a corrupt system that the amount of taxpayers' money put out on this amount of services used, safeguards, so many social workers, panel members. Even a court ruled that both dad and granddad was to see kids and a safeguarder, but this was declined by social services and panel. Why again? No sufficient grounds. Also, dad's contact with his own biological son is at discretion of social workers. In 3 months, no contact happened, but mum's had contact. Even dad tried speaking to reporters and told the children's hearing and reporters are two different entities. When it's the reporters who refers cases to the children's hearing, when the reporters refer the cases to the children's hearing, this family's been going through this for 3 years and they don't seem to be getting anywhere. It's totally shocking. It's a system that, if they're telling you you're never going to beat a system, what are you meant to do to get your side across to that system? It's unbelievable. Right, the other thing I want to talk about, and the 7th of May we all can vote, if you want to vote. I know I'm not voting because at the end of the day these people are doing nothing for us, but I can't tell everybody what to do, but I think you need to think long and hard about what you're going to do for our country. Nicola Sturgeon is going to be helping families, giving more money to carers, an extra $460 a year, helping pensioners, giving kids laptops in school and internet in all homes. Do you really believe anything this woman says? She was MSP for Govan Hill and did nothing. She lied about issues in Govan Hill and did nothing for the rubbish issues, vermin issues, and children being paedophiles in the area and children being trafficked from the area. Families in the area pleaded for help and got nothing in return. When Commonwealth Games were on, she had buses transporting people to Hampden, going along Aikenhead Road as they couldn't see the parts of where it was bad with rubbish and vermin. She has stopped cases of abuse and hindered investigations. Why? This is our First Minister, and all she's done to us is to focus us to take 2 injections for a virus that is not has a high survival rate. Now she's saying we need to be tested regularly for coronavirus 2 times monthly. Trying to bring in vaccination travel cards, giving injections that haven't gone through an adequate testing period related to injections. People need to waken up and see what these people have done to our country. We have been lied to be deaths due to coronavirus. Where is the mass bodies and funerals? Where has the deaths from influenza gone, cancer, heart attacks and strokes? Put us in lockdown that has affected so many people's mental health, so many taking their own lives due to not coping and not being seen by mental health teams. These services are vital to people whose lives are up and down, and having this removed has greatly impacted on the suicides we have seen. Businesses going under again due to being closed. People living in poverty depending on food banks. Our country is on its knees and we all need to be out fighting for our rights. So many shops going under. A dad spoke to me today on Thursday. He tried to take his son to get a pair of training shoes to Braehead, and get into Braehead, there was only 2 shops open. It was Marks and Spencer's and iPhone. Come on, people, you can't go buy yourself a pair of training shoes, you've got to buy them online now. It's the big retailers, it's making out of this, what about all the small retailers, the wee corner shops and everything, they're not making ends. That was basically all I wanted to say today.
I was just going to...
Well done, Diane. What a brave lady. Just on what Diane was saying, and just to finish up on what I was saying, the government have lied to us and corruption and all that stuff for years about the institutional abuse. So, like, you've got to ask yourself, what else are they lying to you about just now? They've lied to you about that and they're still lying. Then they're going to still be lying. Also, see what Diane was saying on the forced adoption stuff. Nobody's really aware, but see last April, the UK government removed all safeguarding for children in care during the pandemic. So these children are not protected at the moment. But also, when I read into that law that they passed last April, removing all safeguarding and 65 legal services that were protecting children, vulnerable children in care, not only did they remove them, for adoption process, they also removed the family court system, even though the family courts were already corrupt. During the pandemic, adoption process now is, there's no court, it's just the social work take the kid and they put it up for adoption, they skip out the family court process now and your kid's adopted out, so you can't go into court and dispute it or anything, so that's also happening in our country just now. But also when Diane was speaking there, I just remembered Nicola Sturgeon wrote me a letter in January there. And I just wanted to raise a few issues. Like I said, look at the state of our country, the child trafficking, the exploitation, no support for mental health, no medical assistance, no getting to see your doctors, no getting to speak to anybody, being isolated. So in this letter, Nicola Sturgeon wrote to me to say that the Scottish Government are helping. And I just wanted to raise, I'm not going to read all the letter, but it's just the money. So she said, in response to this is from Nicola Sturgeon, the Scottish Government, in response to the pandemic, we have committed over 500 million to protect communities and people impacted and have been provided with an additional, we've provided them with an additional 200 million. So that's 700 million to communities in Scotland. Is there anything happening in your community? Well, where is 700 million pound into our communities where the Scottish Government went? People need to ask these questions. I have asked. I'm waiting on a response. So also, 2 seconds guys, the writing's tiny. I need glasses. So 500 million to communities, people impacted, to have an additional 200 million to local authorities to help respond to the pandemic and increase local resilience. Through this investment we have provided another 130 million to tackle food insecurity, so they've provided another 130 million, and including continuing free school meals over the holiday period. We have provided £80 million to charities and community organisations to support people in need. So that's altogether £920 million our Scottish Government has provided to go into communities to help people during this pandemic. I just want you to ask yourself, what's happening in your community? Is there anything that's worth £900 million? Support during the pandemic, food, assistance, has anybody contacted you? So that's all I wanted to say. Nicola Sturgeon gave £900 million to local communities in the taxpayers' money, and people need to ask, where is it? And £80 million to charities. I've not seen a charity out helping except the homeless people, that is it. So, again guys, and also, we're here just to we're trying to get a place where survivors can also come forward and come and speak to us to do with the Scottish Child Abuse Inquiry. I have documents there for anybody that wants them. And we're just trying to create a safe space and also a place for survivors and people to speak and speak their own mind as well. Come somewhere you can talk and have the freedom of speech to say what you like. So again guys, thanks again.
Struggling to pay their bills. People think getting 80% of their furlough wages paid, that's great. Well, the joke is on the people, because it's the people that's paying for the furlough. It's the people that's paying for all this advertisement about COVID. It's the people that pay for everything. Waking up, smell the coffee. You have to waking up now, people. Think if this government get back in May, what's going to happen? Look at the lockdowns we've had, unnecessary. You think it's bad just now? If they get back in, it's going to get a lot worse because this is a big game and these are all playing right into the hands of these corrupt establishments. Now, people think it's great to get deliveries from Greggs, deliveries from Costco, your Tesco, Asda, right? This is all part of the game, the part of the control of the people's lives. They want you sitting in the houses on your online shop like cabbages. This is what they want. They want the cashless society. We cannot allow a cashless society. That gives them full control, and we can't help that. We the people have the choice. It's not understanding right now in England they're trying vaccination passports. There is no law that requires a man or woman to have a vaccination passport. Nobody on this planet owns the lands. Any government. The lands belong to the people worldwide. This is an illusion. The people are in a false prison. They've got a big prison over their head and they don't see an invisible prison. And that's what's happening. The people are being controlled with criminals at the highest level. And it's up to the people now to come back and take back control. We the people are the law. We the people are the authority. And we the people can take this control back if we come together united as communities. I would just like to thank everybody here that came up here.